Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Daniel Rhodes, and I'm pleased to be hosting today's session on behalf of ORSEG. At ORSEG, our mission is to help organizations stay resilient in a threat landscape that is being reshaped every day by rapid advances in AI, automation, and the expanding attack surface. Today's webinar, Integrating AI with Traditional Security Tools, comes at an important moment for security leaders. Many organizations are already experimenting with AI in pockets of the environment, yet very few have figured out how to blend these capabilities with their existing security controls in a way that is both practical and strategically sound. How do you layer AI into existing SOC workflows without creating noise or operational friction? How do you ensure AI augments rather than replaces the visibility and control that security teams depend on? And perhaps most importantly, how do you make these technologies work together in a way that meaningfully improves detection, response, and resilience? The goal of today's discussion is to take a grounded look at what AI can and cannot do within a real security program, and to explore how traditional tooling, analytics, and human expertise need to evolve to keep pace. We're fortunate to be joined today by someone who has been thinking deeply about these problems. Barry Kramer is a senior vCISO at Silent Breach. He brings decades of experience in cybersecurity architecture, governance, cloud security, and large-scale enterprise transformation. Over his career, he's helped some of the US's largest organizations modernize SOC operations, re-engineer identity and access management, deploy advanced threat detection capabilities, and integrate emerging technologies into complex environments. Barry has a unique perspective on where AI delivers real value, where the hype gets ahead of reality, and how teams can practically align their tooling, processes, and risk posture for the next phase of security evolution. Today, Barry will share his perspective on what it takes to meaningfully integrate AI with traditional tools, what works, what doesn't, and how security leaders can maximize value while avoiding the common pitfalls that come with rapid technological change. Here's how today's session will run. We'll begin with a 20-minute presentation by our guest covering insights on integrating AI within existing security stacks. After that, he and I will move into a 15-minute conversation where we'll dig deeper into some of the themes and challenges organizations are facing. Finally, we'll open the floor to your questions for the remainder of the session. We encourage you to engage, submit questions throughout the webinar, and think about how these ideas apply to your own environment. Our hope is that you walk away with practical guidance, not just high-level theory, that you can bring back to your teams. If you find this session useful, please follow ORSEG on LinkedIn. We'll be hosting conversations just like this on a quarterly basis. With that, Barry, thank you for joining us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for the great introduction. Welcome, everyone. I'm Barry Kramer, Senior Virtual CISO at Silent Breach. Today we're going to be tackling one of the most critical evolutions in cybersecurity. Just to reiterate what Daniel said, how to integrate AI with your traditional security tools without disrupting what already works. Today's cybersecurity landscape has reached an inflection point with a high percentage of enterprises now deploying AI in their security operations, and organizations achieving roughly a $2 million in cost savings per breach through AI automation, which is huge. The question is no longer whether to integrate AI, but how to do it strategically. By the end of our 20 minutes together, you'll walk away with 4 concrete takeaways: how to leverage everyday AI tools immediately, real-world case studies with a validated return on investment, a practical framework for incremental modernization, and what the future trends you need to prepare for. So let's dive in. A perfect storm. Why AI integration can't wait.
Hi, Barry. Sorry to interrupt. Can you add your slides to the stage?
They should. Okay.
There they go.
Yeah, they were on the back end. I'm not sure why they weren't showing.
Back to you.
Okay. So as I was saying, the SOCs are overwhelmed. Right now, why AI integration can't wait. 90% of SOC teams are reporting being overwhelmed by alerts and false positives. And I've seen this for decades. Your analysts drown in noise, and enterprise environments generate 10,000 or more daily alerts. And most of them are for false positives, and they're patterns that repeat themselves that everyone's aware of. We have a 4.8 million person workforce gap globally. That's a 19% increase year over year, and can't just hire your way out of the problem. Meanwhile, adversaries are already weaponizing AI. Almost 50% of organizations cite general AI-enabled attacks as their top concern for 2025, 2026. The bad actors aren't waiting to see how they're not waiting to see how this plays out. They're already playing it out. The critical gap where most enterprises have deployed some AI in their SOC, only a small percentage have implemented advanced AI strategies, and strategies is what you really need to do. That big gap represents the competitive advantage window, and it's closing fast. So either you strategize now or you're going to run into major problems later. Early movers are establishing significant defenses, advantages, while late adopters face a compounding risk exposure. Let's see. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about money, because that's ultimately what the language the board speaks. The average breach cost hit in 2024 was nearly 5 million, an all-time high, up 10% from 2023. With AI, you can detect and contain common breaches roughly 98 days faster. That's 160 days versus 258 days without AI. When translated to dollars, this acceleration means roughly 2 million in direct savings per incident. Forrester's independent total economic impact studies validate that information with a 234 to 322% 3-year return on investment across all AI platforms. These vendors they're not marketing claims, it's actual financial fact and analysis. The question isn't whether AI pays off, it's how quickly you can capture that value. So, everyday AI tools. Let's talk about practical applications, what you can use today, not future promises, but these are tools you can leverage right now. Your SIEM query generation alone delivers immediate productivity gains. Essentially, you can use AI to do things like Splunk queries to identify failed login attempts exceeding 5 in an hour, generate functional queries instantly. The query creation consumes 30% of a SOC's daily work, and AI reduces that to seconds. So natural language prompts just make a world of difference. Your applications extend across the analyst workflow, their detection rule creation, Sigma rules from malware characteristics, incident reporting, drafting, executive summaries, timeline reconstructions, stakeholder communications, threat research acceleration, rapid TTP analysis, and adversary profiling. Here's the reality check. Your analysts are already using these tools, whether you know it or not. Kaspersky found that 67% of their employees share internal data with public Gen AI services without authorization. So your employees are already using these tools. They're using ChatGPT, they're using Claude. The question isn't whether they're using them, it's whether you formalize it with proper guardrails. And this is a major problem. The risk is real. The AI-related breaches cost 28% more than a traditional incident, averaging 5.2 million per incident for an AI breach versus a standard. Enterprise deployment requires technical controls, private AI deployments, input validation, response template, limiting output manipulation. So, hold on. So now we're going to talk about the vendors, whether you're a Microsoft house, whether you're using Entra, Purview, Sentinel. Microsoft Security Copilot integrates across the whole Microsoft ecosystem with Microsoft Defender XDR. The November 2025 announcement introduced 12 autonomous agents capable of alert triage, phishing analysis, vulnerability remediation without human intervention. And if you're already a Microsoft 365 E5 customer, you receive 400 security compute units per month per 1,000 licenses at no additional cost. Platforms like CrowdStrike's Charlotte AI delivers autonomous triage and investigations with a 98% plus accuracy matching expert analysis. And Palo Alto's Cortex runs 2,600 plus million natural language model threat hunting. 24% of their ARR growth is attributed to AI adoption. The bottom line here is, if you're already invested in Microsoft, then use the Microsoft AI tools. If you're using CrowdStrike or Palo Alto, depending on your environment, work with those environments to integrate the tools that they're providing. So you're not having to buy new tools, you're activating the capabilities that you probably already have and may not be aware of it. So let's talk about alert reduction and real-world evidence from vendors. So we're going from theory to evidence. I'll give an example. A Fortune 500 bank case study demonstrates what is actually achievable. In their situation, a legacy SIEM lacking AI capabilities was drowning in, this is crazy, 19,000 plus daily alerts with a SOC team that couldn't keep up with the threat volume. I mean, it becomes impossible after a time. After implementing Palo Alto's Cortex XSIAM, those 1,900 alerts were literally reduced to 17 actionable incidents per day. That's a 99.9% noise reduction. So that's actionable. Think about what that means for your team, from drowning in alerts to actually focusing on real threats. They detected 5,000 plus attack scenarios in a live simulation testing, connected to 20 critical log sources in just 3 days, and scaled ingestion capacity from 7 terabytes to 150 terabytes. I'll give another example. In healthcare, Johns Hopkins deployed AI analytics for insider threat detection, critical in an industry where I know personally breach costs are much higher. They average almost 10 million, way more than, double than other sectors. US oil and gas company went from 90% false positives to virtually zero, and the platform detected a vendor breach before the vendor even knew about it. So that's really saying something, where these tools that you can implement now are detecting issues before the vendors are even able to release information about a known issue. The Forrester validated their return on investment numbers with Microsoft Defender XDR at 242%, 3-year return on investment with payback in under 6 months. Microsoft Sentinel at 234% with a 79% false positive reduction. Cortex XS IAM at 257%, and CrowdStrike Falcon at 322%, the highest validated return. So these aren't aspirational targets. These are documented results from independent research for very well-known and large organizations. What is important here is that we go to a crawl, walk, run framework. It's about how to actually implement these tools without creating operational risk and organizational resistance. The gold standard is the crawl, walk, run methodology. The crawl phase, weeks 1 through 4, so that first month, focus on data collection and benchmarking before introducing any AI capabilities. You need to integrate the AI tools in a fail open mode, detecting issues without blocking workflows. So you're stacking the AI on top of what they're already doing, trying to get buy-in. You want this to move in slowly so you don't destabilize your environment. So you're going to establish your baseline metrics, alerts, alerts processed daily, your current false positive rates, the analyst time allocation, and then target 90% repository coverage within the first 2 weeks. That's the crawl phase. The walk phase is month 1 to 2. You introduce SAOR automation for repetitive tasks. So this is things like alert enrichment, ticket generation, and AI operates in assist mode during this time, while analysts still validate the decisions. Basically, you're using AI just to validate and assist with the work, and you need to implement feedback loops where the analysts can override the AI recommendations and see that the feedback is reflected. The key principle here is education before enforcement. And I can tell you that in most enterprises, that AI education is seriously lacking. Companies are trying to implement this without educating their general security workforce. And that's extremely important. Just the critical message is don't try and boil the ocean, start small, build trust, expand incrementally. So the run phase would be 2 to 3 months and beyond. That's where you start to enable AI autonomous response, but you want to start with low risk events first. That's critically important. Once you validated that, you can expand to cross-functional deployment, including threat hunting, and detection engineering. This is where you transition from a human in the loop to human on the loop. So the AI acts independently on routine cases while your analysts can oversee those really high risk, high value issues and situations. All right, so use case. Where do you start for maximum impact with minimum risk? This prioritized list will give you the answer. Number one, alert triage. It's structured, it's measurable, and delivers immediate visible return on investment. Your best starting point, because success is quantifiable and low risk. So again, you want to start with alert triage. Number two is where you start doing data enrichment. Again, it's low risk. It builds organizational trust in AI capabilities before you expand its scope. So you really want to start small, again, using the tools that you already have in place, and education throughout the whole process. Number three, that's when you start doing incident classification. Clear AI success criteria has to be given to make it easy to validate the AI's performance. So you really have to understand how AI works for this to make sense. This is where teaching clear prompt engineering comes into play. And then number four, false positive reduction. Your analysis time savings that can translate to huge cost savings. Once you're able to get those false positives down, your analysts and employees, security SOC teams are going to be much more productive. That's where you really start seeing the impact of AI take hold. It does an incredible job with analyzing logs and large amounts of data and reducing them to actionable items. Number five would be areas like phishing triage and remediation, vulnerability remediation. High volume, high repetitive is perfect for automation. So wherever you have high amounts of repeating patterns, this is exactly what AI is wonderful at. It's a nightmare for engineers and analysts to deal with repetitive issues day in and day out. They'll get burnt out. AI can take over this extremely easily. The recommended progression path would begin with data enrichment agents, and then you progress to reasoning models for triage, and then advance to action-taking agents for containment, I apologize. What not to do. Do not implement AI fully autonomous threat responses, even if your vendors are offering that. You need to start slow and work your way into it. Let AI prove itself on lower stake tasks first and build the trust before expanding the scope. That is critical. So, maturity model, going from now till roughly 2030. Looking ahead, you need to understand where the industry is already heading. This SOC maturity model shows the evolution from manual operations to autonomous security. Most organizations today are at level 1 or 2 of basic automation or AI-assisted detection with human investigation control. That's where the industry sits right now. So right now, AI is assisting your analysts and engineers. What we're looking at is level 3 would be a more orchestrated response, automated workflows for routine incidents, human intervention is reserved for complex cases. This is where you start seeing AI starting to take over some really repetitive tasks. So you've gotten rid of the noise. Now you're allowing AI to start doing the automated work. You want your humans working on the things that humans are best at, which is your more high-risk areas. Level 4 is autonomous operations, where AI manages most security operations with strategic human oversight. To give some examples, Omdia projects that leading organizations could reach level 4 within 1 or 2 years. So that's autonomous operations within 2 years. And that still needs human oversight. So you won't be getting rid of your engineers. The AI will just make the work that they do more important, and they won't be dealing with so much noise. And that's important. So the Gartner Group maintains that there will never be a fully autonomous SOC, and I totally agree. Complex and high impact cases will always require human understanding. There's no way of getting around that. AI is great at a lot of things, but it's not going to automate your SOC. It's not going to completely remove humans from the equation. There's always going to be people there to do the work. The goal isn't to replace the people, it's to amplify the capabilities, and AI can absolutely do that. When you're dealing with just the main security issues and AI can handle the low-hanging fruit, then you're in a much more efficient situation. So what Gardner said was AI won't replace security professionals, but those who take the time to learn AI effectively will significantly outcompete those who don't. And I'm already seeing that every day. So teams are reporting higher job satisfaction with AI deployment because if not, they burn out from routine work. Okay. Sorry. So let's talk about future trends. By 2030, 5 trends you should prepare for. I don't want to get to 2030 just yet. These will reshape how security operations function. First, preemptively, security will dominate spending by 2030. The Gartner Group predicts that preemptive AI solutions will capture 50% of IT security spending, up from less than 5% today. Detection and response platforms will be supplemented by AI-driven predictive threat intelligence, advanced deception and automated moving target defense. With over 1 million documented CVEs expected by 2030, reactive approaches become mathematically untenable. So AI is going to be a huge part of your future budgets. In the next 5 years, it's going to be literally 50%. Second, AI versus AI represents a huge emerging battlefield. AI has already proven that, adversaries have operationalized AI for attack acceleration. people are using AI to hack AI. They're essentially using Claude to hack Claude, and ChatGPT to hack ChatGPT. That's not even going into AI attacking your own exposures and enterprise. CrowdStrike demonstrated an AI-powered attack simulation, launching a multi-stage campaigns in minutes with dynamic TTP alteration. And Gartner predicts that 40% of social engineering attacks will target executives using deepfake audio and video by 2028. So that's just in a couple of years. And that's a big area that I'm seeing that's already happening with deepfakes. Companies are already being hacked by people creating deepfakes of the executives and then speaking with employees, and they don't know the difference. It's becoming reality. It's already happened. So this is not projective. This is already happened. Third, agentic. Agentic AI will transform security workflows. Google's cloud vision involves specialized autonomous agents for triage, hunting, response, and malware analysis, each operating with granulated autonomy. So you're not giving them full autonomy yet. They're each going to have their niche areas. Fourth, zero trust plus AI convergence enables adaptive security. Real-time behavior trust assessment through continuous risk scoring, geography, and device security, behavioral patterns enabled just in time, just enough access. So what that means is you want to start using AI for adaptive security. It can do real-time behavioral analysis. These are built into the tools that you would already have, and you're going to see more of this implemented in the future. Fifth is the regulatory frameworks. We're talking the EU AI Act for high-risk systems requirement. They will become enforceable around August of 2026. And the UA's AI Act under Article 15 mandates appropriate levels of accuracy, robustness, and cybersecurity, including resilience against data poisoning, adversarial examples. Gartner predicts AI governance will be required in all sovereign AI laws worldwide by 2027. So they're trying to put governance in place for AI, but it's still in its neonatal phase. It's still, it has not emerged yet. There's a couple of documents that are starting to be produced for governance, but again, nobody's able to enforce it. You're going to start seeing a lot more of that in the next couple of years. And by the end of 2027, you're going to start seeing AI laws worldwide. Specifically, there's already laws against deep fakes because people are already using them for real attacks. So let me give you a concrete action plan you can implement starting tomorrow. In the next month, you create your foundation. You benchmark your current state. You document your MTTR, your MTPI, your false positive rates, and your analyst workload distribution. You need to identify what your pilot use case is going to be. Sorry about that. So going back, we're talking about the 90-day to 180-day action plan here. There we go. I apologize for that. Again, days 1 through 30 is just going to be creating your foundation and your benchmark. After month 1 to month 2, you're going to start creating a pilot. You're going to run a controlled pilot in a limited environment with clear success metrics, implement analyst feedback loops, enable AI learning, and trust building. So in month 2, you're just going to get your pilot set up in your development environment. You're going to evaluate your vendor's AI capabilities across your existing stack. As I mentioned, most of the software that you already are running has already implemented AI capabilities into it. For instance, if you're a Microsoft shop, look at Copilot. If you're a CrowdStrike customer and Charlotte AI, SentinelOne users, Purple AI, and then you also want to start beginning your AI literacy training for your SOC team. And this is extremely important. Again, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to teach your SOC team what AI is, what it can do, and what it can't do. This is the future of security. And if they're not adopting AI, they're going to be left behind by engineers that have. When it comes to your 60 to 90 day, that's where you're going to start scaling things up based on your pilot results. So you want to take what you learned with your pilot and start putting them into practice with guardrails. Start beginning your platform consolidation, where you take your tools and you plan as vendor coverage for your vendor capabilities. Again, so 60 to 90 days is where you scale up based on those pilot results. Days 90 to 180 is communicate, present the return on investments to your executive leadership in business terms and cost savings, risk reduction, efficiency gains, and justify further investments with documented results. So by that 180-day point, you should be able to have solid metrics that you can show upper management to ensure, not just upper management, but the board itself, to continue to increase your investment into AI. So let's go to some takeaways. 4 things to remember from today. 1, leverage everyday AI tools to boost traditional security operations now. Don't wait. You don't need to wait for perfect conditions. ChatGPT, Claude, the secure Copilot, and your vendor assistants deliver immediate productivity gains. Your vendors already have AI tools integrated into them. It's just a matter of starting to learn how to use them and implement them. 2, real-world deployments prove that 99% plus alert reduction and a 200% plus return on investment. The evidence is there, validated by independent research. This is not speculation, it's documented performance. So when you start reducing those false positives, when you start being able to capture data from multiple points and have the AI filter through it, you're going to see huge savings based on your investment. 3, the crawl, walk, run methodology. It modernizes your stack without disruption. So you want to overlay AI on top of what you're already doing. You start slow, you crawl before you can walk, you walk before you can run. Start small with alert triage, build organizational trust, expand incrementally. You don't need a year-long transformation program. You can have measurable results in as little as 90 days. 4, agentic AI, autonomous SOC, and AI versus AI defense are coming. So prepare now. Preemptive security will dominate 50% of spending by 2030. The organizations that start building these capabilities today will have a really significant advantage. AI, what it comes down to is AI integration isn't optional anymore. It can be incremental, it can be safe, and it can be immediately valuable. So, with that being said, thank you for your time. I'm happy to take questions after we go through this with Daniel. I think you've got some questions set up. And for those listening to the podcast later, feel free to reach out to me at my email at bkramer@silentreach.com or visit silentreach.com for more resources on AI security integration. They're already doing a lot of what I've discussed above with their Quantum Armor product, which takes log aggregation and gives you immediate AI results. So that's something worth looking into. So from there, I send it to you, Daniel.
Thank you so much, Barry. It was a pleasure and to listen to you, and I already learned so much just in the last 20, 30 minutes or so. You've not only covered a lot of the landscape that already exists today, that security leaders can access today, but also laid out a clear path forward into the coming years. So thank you very much for that. To open it up, you started your talk by mentioning that security analysts or SOC analysts, they're already using AI, what we can call shadow AI. So it's not a question of whether to use it, it's a question of how to use it. And I'm curious if you could expand a bit more on that. For CTOs or CISOs or security managers who are concerned about what their team is doing with data, where they're putting it, what are the kind of steps other than, so you mentioned that they can set up a more secure version of that. Is that the extent of what they can do, or are there other steps that they take to prevent that kind of shadow AI?
Oh, that's the problem. You can't ban cell phones, and especially remote workers, where I've seen even where people do have AI security controls in place where they don't allow you to use ChatGPT on a company computer. All it takes is somebody to pull out their cell phone, turn their camera on, take a picture of their screen, and send it straight to ChatGPT or Claude or any other OpenAI. So shadow AI is a huge risk. What's important is that you start creating an outlet for the teams to use AI properly. And that starts with AI training and creating an AI security policy specifically for that, But it's important to teach the reasons behind this. The reality is AI doesn't just strengthen your defenses, it simultaneously creates entirely new attack surfaces that didn't exist before. So shadow AI, exactly as you mentioned, companies need to educate their users and start giving them outlets to use AI in a productive way, or they're going to use it anyways on their own behind your back.
Got it. You've pointed out this need for training at several points throughout your talk. How can companies go about doing that? What are the resources that are available to them to provide this AI literacy for their team? Should they contract out with Silent Breach, or are there digital tools, or what's your recommendation on that?
That will take. I think they can reach out to Silent Breach for that. That's a solid option. There's a lot. The beautiful thing about AI is that you can use the existing AI tools to teach you about AI. Everything I've mentioned here, you can learn how to introduce into your system by using the commonly used AI tools that already exist. But I recommend speaking with other security professionals. Going to like upper management should definitely be taking advantage of the numerous AI roundtable discussions that are going on all over the world right now. I see dozens of them a week. From there, you'll learn the strategies you need to start teaching your enterprise employees on how exactly to teach them on it'll give you better areas on what places to teach them these AI tools. It also, you're going to have to get legal involved. You're going to have to do it across your whole organization to create your AI control space. I guess it's hard to say. When it comes to creating AI awareness and acceptable use policy, and how do you even discover AI shadow usage? There's a lot of places you can go to learn it. I would have to get back with you for more details specifically on what places to go with that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think every week I'm invited to a new AI conference or roundtable or discussion. So there's definitely a lot of resources out there for different leaders in different industries. Another thing you mentioned, which was quite interesting to me, was that the tools and the processes that the security analyst will be using will change, but the analyst will stay the same.
Yes.
That's a very interesting prediction to me. I'm curious. Well, this is kind of a two-part question. The first part is, how do you see that role evolving over the next 5 years? What would you recommend to analysts that are either entering the workforce or recently joined the workforce and want to prepare for that future, to be able to lead that future for their companies? And the second half of the question is, I'm thinking more on an organizational level. We have these traditional departments. You have the security department, the sales department, the marketing, the legal, and at some point, I wonder if we're going to have an AI department at every company to run these things, right? To run the trainings, to understand the tools, to help each team to use the AI in the way that's relevant to them. So it's kind of a two-part question. Like internally in the security team, how do you see it shifting? What do you recommend to the, maybe young junior team members, how to prepare for it? And then also as an organization, how do you balance, trying to stand up a new department versus enabling existing departments?
Okay, so for people just getting into information security, new to the workforce, just like you would have a strong software development lifecycle course for new programmers, anybody going into any area of IT at this point, they need to start learning about AI. If they're not, they're going to be outpaced by people that are. They can do that by using the free versions of the AI that's already out there. Copilot, ChatGPT, there's dozens of free tools that people can use, and you can use these tools to literally create entire courses. Like, you can ask it, create an AI course for me. This is my job. This is what I'm doing. How can AI help me? And you don't have to be a prompt engineer to enter that into ChatGPT, for instance, and it will give you the resources you need to teach yourself how to implement AI into your current workflow. I think it's extremely important that people start learning AI now, because if they don't, they're going to lose their jobs to people that did. It's not even, I mean, we're well into that right now. A lot of people did not think that AI was going to be a big thing. They thought it was a passing phase, passing fad, and that's just not the situation. AI is here to stay. It's going to get bigger. Just like the browser wars, I'm sure there's going to be AI wars with which platform comes out on top, because they're already competing between Claude and ChatGPT. But to the everyday engineer, I would say start learning AI on your own now. Don't rely on your company to teach it to you. You need to be proactive, just like you did to learn security.
The lucky thing is that AI teaches it to you.
Yes.
Right? It's the first technology which is self-teaching.
Yes.
So that's a plus, as you're pointing out. You don't need to go to a new school. You don't need to enroll in any classes. Just using the AI will teach it to you.
Yeah, I remember when I first got into cybersecurity decades ago, I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on books, paper books, and it took years to integrate that information. And this technology, you don't need any of that. You simply can go to a free website, enter in the question you have, and you have the world's knowledge at your fingertips. And every morning, I wake up to ChatGPT teaching me something new about AI and security that I didn't know. And that's something anybody can set up.
Maybe if it's okay, can we turn to a more practical side of the conversation?
Sure.
You touched on a number of different use cases and different, different companies that have been able to get return on investment. As you said, it's not aspirational. This is real and it's here. And would you be able to speak to, a real world case that you've been involved with? Maybe something to do with phishing or data enrichment or alert triage, some of the things that you've mentioned. Is there any case that you're able to talk about?
There's one that I can speak of. I'm not going to mention the company. It's regarding log aggregation and false positives. That is a huge area where AI can make a humongous difference. The company in question here had, I am not exaggerating, well over 100,000 alerts a month. I mean, and I'd say 90% of them are false positives or repetition of information. So they had plugged in, they had tools where they were already plugged in and using things like Splunk to look at their data aggregation from all their logging systems. What happened when they started using AI tools to look at the same data, it reduced that down to maybe 10% of what it was. If not even, I mean, I'd say higher than that. much more like maybe 2% was remaining that were actionable items, and it got rid of all the junk, all the, I mean, they say bad data in, bad data out, but in reality, when you have so many complex systems sending out thousands and thousands of logs a day, traditional tools can't handle that much data. This is exactly what AI is perfect for. It can look through that data and it can find what's real, what isn't, and it can discover patterns that you can never imagine even picking up on in a heartbeat. And you can just use plain language with a lot of these tools and get wonderful results. So in this case, the log aggregation and false positives went from an overwhelming number that could not be dealt with, I mean, to the point where a lot of it was being ignored, to actionable items that the engineers could deal with every day. It was a short enough list where you could break it down to a team of 10, and each person had an item that they could address that day and have it finished by the end of the day. And that cut through the majority of the real work that needed to be done. Before that, they were just drowned in an overwhelming amount of data, most of which they didn't know whether or not to believe it, or whether it was a false positive or true. And there's not enough time in the day to actually find out if it is. So
yeah, that's a really good point, and it's kind of ironic because people feel like AI is going to take away their job, but in this case, AI is actually giving them their job, because now they're able to actually look through real alerts and actually deal with real security issues instead of filtering through false positives all day. That kind of leads us into, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, what it allows to happen is it makes your engineers more successful. They can actually show at the end of the week, at the end of the month, the end of a sprint, depending on how they're running their team, they can show actionable results. They can show that they took the majority of the real issues that were affecting the enterprise and they resolved them. Whereas previously they would have been overwhelmed with so much data that they would not know where to start. They would not know which issues were valid, which ones were false positives. This narrows it down and enhances them. It allows them to work more efficiently and have results that they can show at the end of the day.
Yeah. We're running out of time, but I just want to ask one more question before we turn to audience questions. So again, on this topic of implementing AI to maybe classify alerts or log aggregation. So of course, a real concern for anybody who uses AI, whether personally through ChatGPT or professionally through something like Copilot, a concern is sometimes AIs have been known to hallucinate or to have their own funny kind of thinking, which doesn't reflect the reality that we're interested in. So of course, this is a concern for security teams who are having the AI look through 16,000 alerts and then tell you, okay, these are the 15 that you need to focus on. First of all, how can teams build that confidence? It's something you touched on. You talked about the crawl, walk, run. That's a natural way of building confidence for humans as well as for AI. But are there maybe some more technical kind of validation layers that could be put in place, in the process, so that we can learn to develop that trust?
So one, AI is set up in a rather childish way of learning. When most large language models were trained, they learned on their own very quickly that if they got an answer wrong, they got 0 points or 0 cookies if they got something wrong. If they guessed, they had a possibility of getting it right. They might get that cookie if they make a guess. So later down the line, that's where we end up with hallucinations. And AI will lie to your face depending on how you structure a question. And it's all about how you structure the information that you give it and the questions that you ask it. So learning how to do proper prompt engineering and setting these things up in the pilot system where you start incrementally. You start very, very small with areas where you're going to be able to see what the results are and validate them yourself. That's how you get this going. But you always need to do a reality check with any AI you're working with, because it will, at its current state, it will lie to you. And again, that all depends on the questions being asked to it. And if you're using something like ChatGPT or Claude, if you ask it an open question, it's going to give you an ambiguous answer. If you structure that question within a really solid framework, which is what prompt engineering teaches you, it will keep it on the rails for the most part. And at the same time, for an enterprise, when you're implementing AI, you need to make sure that you start very, very small enough to where you can validate that what you're doing is on the guardrails, that you can validate what the results are before you start building it out. Again, that's tremendously important, because AI is like a genius 2-year-old. It's got the knowledge of the entire planet in its head, but it's still a 2-year-old, and it still wants its cookies. And that's, you just have to give it that really solid guidance for it to give you the responses that you need. And it won't know what to give you unless you tell it.
Absolutely. That's another area, as I work in marketing, and another area where I find that AI is actually helping humans to communicate more effectively. Because if you give it if you don't communicate with AI properly, it's not going to do what you want. So it's actually, in a way, AI is training us as humans to communicate more comprehensively and effectively with the AI, but hopefully then in the real world as well with other people. So that's another benefit.
One of the things that is really surprising that has been noted across the board with people that use AI every day, including the people that created ChatGPT, Sam Altman, the guy that created Claude, they've noticed that the very way that they think has changed, because the more they use the AI, it changes based on the information that they're getting, and the way AI presents that data, it changes the way that they focus on information, and then their questions become closer to the way AI thinks. So the two start merging together in a shockingly fast amount of time. But again, that's why it's so important to ask the correct questions and give it the guidelines that it needs to give you a correct answer. And again, that's all prompt engineering. And that's something that anyone can learn. You just have to take the time to ask.
Yeah, it's a collaborative effort between you and the AI at every stage, from the prompt through through the whole life cycle of implementation. The AI is kind of there together with you to help you through the process.
And again, you should be focusing AI utility towards augmentation and not replacement. It's not going to be replacing employees. It's there to augment the employees that you already have or you're going to have. And as I mentioned before, if the engineers aren't starting to learn AI now, I guarantee when AI becomes implemented across an enterprise, you'll be left behind if you're not learning the AI yourself.
Let's turn to, we're over time, unsurprisingly. Let's turn to one of the audience questions before we wrap it up. So Kalai asks, every vendor claims automation and AI powered triage. This is true. Every product today is an AI product. From a
Yeah.
CISO's perspective, what technical questions should we ask vendors to separate true AI capability from marketing?
You need to be able to have them show you results. So again, you're going to have to start small. Have your vendors prove what they're saying is true. You need to, but again, you need to be able to express that in a way where you're going to get the results you're looking for. But from a CISO standpoint, you start small. When your vendors say that they have true AI capabilities, the only way you can separate it from the marketing fluff, which everybody is doing, is to get solid results. And you need to be able to have a test bed where you're able to implement those tools in a pilot program where you can see a quantitative result, not possibilities, but solid results. For instance, plug it into just one log tool, like maybe your intrusion detection system, or an application monitoring system, or your firewall. If the vendor is claiming that it's going to reduce your false positives, then put it to the test, but do it in a very small way. Get those qualitative or quantitative results first. And from there, you can start moving forward. Because inevitably, all of the vendors say that their AI can do more than it does. And from their point of view, they're telling the truth, because they have very well-trained prompt engineers that are asking the AI these questions. So they're going to get the answers that they're looking for. They're going to get the results they want. But unless you have somebody that knows how to work with AI in the first place, again, you're going to get garbage in, garbage out. But from the vendor's point of view, the only way to separate it is with qualitative results. They need to be able to show you what it can do. And you just start small and you build out from there.
Okay, thank you so much, Barry. Unfortunately, we're out of time today. I would love to stay and talk more about this. Fortunately, we'll have more events in the future, and we're looking forward to hosting you at ORSEG again in the future, whether in a podcast, a live event, or in another webinar. So thank you very much for your time. I've learned a lot today. I'm sure our audience has as well. And for anyone in the audience who would like to connect more with ORSEG and join future events, please follow us on our social media or visit orseg.com. Thank you very much and hope to speak with you soon. Take care.
Thanks. Take care.